I guess we're live.
Hi.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
We're Emily and Jackson. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good night, depending on wherever you are in the world. We are from Vancouver, Canada. Jackson and I, we have 4 boys and we run a digital business. And we do this Go Live every week, starting last week, to interview the top of the top leaders in our community because we feel that as ourselves, we will love to learn from them, to learn the secrets of their success. And today we're so honored and grateful that we have debra, who's originally from Canada, but now living in Mexico, living her golden life and enjoying sunny Mexico with her husband to join it with us. So, hi, debra.
Hi, Jackson and Emily.
Hi.
Thank you so much for your time today to be with us.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
Yeah, we've been waiting for this moment to interview you, and I think we start with jumping with the question is firstly just a brief background about yourself and your family, and how you came to this business. Yeah.
We're originally from New Brunswick, Canada, and my husband and I raised our 6 children back east and on a very low income. So we didn't come from a family of a lot of wealth when our children were growing up. We were happy and we kept our children in sports and, did things with their children. We didn't do anything if it didn't involve our children when we lived back there. After our youngest daughter graduated from high school, she didn't go on to further her education. She just moved to Calgary, Alberta. And at that point, we'd had 3 daughters in Alberta, and we had a son in Campbell River, BC, and we had 2 sons in Ontario. So, my husband went overboard in the Bay of Fundy where he used to work out on the ocean on the salmon sites on December 20th, 2005. So he said, let's move west. And I said, when do we go, right? So anyways, we sort of followed our kids and gave up our jobs that we had there for years and years and years, which was scary. And I don't know if it was a midlife crisis or what. But anyways, away we went and we, got into Alberta. We moved to Fort McMurray, Alberta, one of the most expensive places to live, or overpriced, I should say. And we were there. We moved there. In the first year, we paid $50,000 in rent.
Wow.
For a 1-bedroom basement apartment. 1-bedroom basement apartment, $50,000 in rent. So we ended up buying a very, an older home, but it was very much overpriced at the time. And we both get good jobs. We were making a high 6-figure income, both of us. And we were doing well. And then in 2015, I get laid off my job. I had some struggles in the meantime. I had, the big C and took some treatments and had a bad accident and, just life happened. Right. And, but getting laid off in 2015, it was, there's no job security. Right. And they eliminated my position. And really, it was a smart move on the company's part because they laid all of us high-paid people off. And then what they did, they brought out new positions, and they are paying these people to work for what we were having deducted for income taxes. Right. So it was a smart move on the company's part, but it affected our lives. Right. I get laid off. And I was laid off the end of October. So actually would have been yesterday, would have been the anniversary date of my layoff because it was October 28th, 2008. Oh. Yeah. So anyways, I got a great severance package and I said to Mike, let's go on a trip. And let's pay off lots of our, small bills. Let's pay them all off and pay off the car and, do a few things like that, take a trip. And then, I'll come back, apply for unemployment, and I'll be able to draw unemployment for a year and I'll get a job, because I was very confident. I was good at what I did and I enjoyed what I did. So I knew at that moment that I was going to get a job when I came back. So anyways, we go on our trip for 2 weeks. We come back and I go to unemployment and I couldn't get unemployment because I earned too much money.
Oh, I see.
right? Because I had my severance package. So I had 2 years pay in 1 year. So I earned too much money. And I had never drawn on unemployment in my entire life. So that was the first time ever I applied and I was refused. So anyways, I thought, well, I've got to start applying for work. So, this is in January of 2016. And I'm getting interviews and interviews and interviews and going and getting interviews. And it was to the point that I'm not even going to apply for work in my field. I'm just going to apply for anything. Like, because we had a situation happen before I got laid off that it took every bit of our savings and investments and, the nest egg you have put away for retirement. It was a situation that happened and we had to help out and it took every penny that we had. So anyways, we're broke. My husband's still working, but like I say, we're living in a very expensive, overpriced home in Fort McMurray. And, it's taken everything he has, just to pay the regular bills, our truck payment, our house payment, our, the property taxes and all the expenses that go along with that. He was, taking care of those things, but there was nothing else. And I was thinking, oh my goodness, like, what are we going to do? Like this month, I didn't have the money to pay for that. It was a little bit more than what it normally was. And the budget there was no money there for budgeting. And it was like, we were really getting to the point that we didn't know whether we were going to lose everything we had worked all our lives for, right? And of course, nobody was buying because everybody was getting laid off. 2015, 2016, everybody was getting laid off. And I said, well, I've got to start looking online. So it was, and I had lots of interviews and all of them asked me how long I planned on working. Which, they legally can't ask you how old you are, but they see on your resume when you graduated from high school and university, so they can, put the figures together. And they see me, right? They know I'm not going to be working forever. And people wanted to hire younger people that would give them 20 to 30 years. So anyways, I started looking online and, believe me, I saw a lot of really crappy online businesses out there. But I kept looking. And, I tried a few and it was mistakes. And then I came across Mike and Darren's ad and I saw their ad and I didn't really do anything with it that day, but I kept praying and I've got a lot of faith. So I prayed a lot, God, just show me where I need to be in this. Like you take me to what is going to sustain our life, what I can do, something I can help other people. And something that you can do, to sustain our life. And I kept looking. And every day, from the first day I saw their ad, every day, this ad kept going across my Facebook page. And I kept thinking, Lord, is this it? And I went on. And finally, it was like, yes, it's it. So I went on and I looked at their ad and I went and watched the information session and I thought, and I'm right up at my computer like this watching it because I knew the minute I watched that was the business. And I knew that it would work. I didn't know how it was going to work. I didn't know how long it was going to take because at that point, I didn't even know how to put a picture on Facebook. Because I did accounting all day long. I did book work and I worked on database programs and I did income taxes. But when I finished at the end of the day, I closed my computer. I had no interest on learning anything else on the computer. So I'm thinking, how am I going to do this? But I know it can be done because I could see it. I understood it. I could see it. And so anyways, I clicked on their link and I didn't actually get started in the business until February 17th, 2018. So I procrastinated and people, tell all your people, don't procrastinate because what a mistake that is to procrastinate when you know you have something that is this viable. And I have yet today to see a business that has made this much money for just the everyday person. And I did income taxes for over 42 years. And I've never seen a small business that brought this much money to this many people and that could stay. And like the only way for people to fail doing this business is to quit. It's the only way. And like I said to somebody here a while ago, you know, if you think it's a get-rich-quick scheme, you're in the wrong place. It's a very legit, viable business, and it's something. So anyways, that's how I got involved in the online business, and it has changed our lives. And, you know, my husband and I are living our dream. We're living in our the home of our dream in Mexico, and in the warm weather, where it was something we dreamt about, you know, 38 years ago, that we had no idea that we would ever, you know, it's a dream. So I tell everybody, don't let anybody steal your dream. Don't ever forget your dream, and don't forget where you came from.
Right. We've been following you, me and Jackson been following you in the community, and you're such an inspiration for us. And then because coming from your background and listening to your story, and then you said that you didn't even know how to put on the picture in the Facebook before the business. It was like, if Debra can do that, everybody can do it, right?
That's right.
Yeah, and I remember one of your famous motto, actually, such an inspiration, and everyone is that faith, not fear.
Not
Can you
fear.
elaborate a little bit more on that?
Well, as I say, I prayed. I prayed a lot about my, you know, about what I was going to do, and how we'd sustain our income. And I honestly believe the Lord brought me to this business. And I had to learn, because a lot of times I would think, oh, it's not working for me. Like, you know, I'd get discouraged because I had that want for me, I, so bad. And then it was like, no, I just have to have faith. I know the Lord brought me here, and I got to get rid of all of those fears that it's not going to work. Will it work? Will it not work? You know,
the doubts.
Am I going to make money? Am I not going to make money? Blah, blah, blah. You know, that's fear, right? And once I get rid of that fear, and I thought, I need to be grateful anyways. I went through 2 major situations in my life that I overcame both of them. You know, I beat the big C, and I was in a bad accident that really I probably shouldn't have survived, right? But I did. So every day, you know, you get up in the morning now and you hit your feet on the floor and you say, thank you, Lord, I have another day. Who can I be a blessing to today? And I learned how to live by faith and not fear. And then my business started growing. It went boom, right? So because I learned how to run my business by faith, not fear. And I try to live my everyday life by faith, not fear, right?
Right.
So you're replacing fear with gratefulness. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, exactly. Grateful of the little things. And I really have a hard problem of people, don't forget where you came from. You know, we didn't have a lot when our children were growing up. But we were happy, and we had each other. And we lived in an old, cold farmhouse, but we loved every minute of it, right? You know, and where we are today, and to look back at where we were, we're grateful for every step we had in between, because that's what made us the people we are today. Right. So we have to be grateful, and you've got to be happy for other people. There's so many people that is, you know, only are happy if something good happens to them. They've got to be happy for everybody that good happens to, because that's what we're supposed to do. We have to live by faith, not fear. And faith, believing in something that is beyond your control.
Right, that's right. Yeah, because we got a chance to talk to Debra before we go on live, and then she was sharing it with us, her story. And then what I take away the most impressive is that how that the desire of Debra for helping other people. So I hope that's your vision. So I once heard that people saying, if you make your vision big enough, then fear is irrelevant.
That's right.
So I see the big part of you, and then by accepting our invite to come to the interview, and then I also would like to know what's sorry.
Certainly, excuse you, bless you.
Thank you. What's the biggest impact that this business has done for you and your family?
It's taken the stress away. Like, you know, so many years, I had the stress of, I didn't want to put the burden on my husband of, paying the bills and not knowing if the money was going to be there and this and that. One of my very first goals when I started this business was when my electrical bill came in, I had the money to pay. That was my first goal, was that I could pay that electrical bill as soon as it came in. Sorry, my dog's barking.
It's okay.
But that was my first goal. And you start with the small goals first, right? Mm-hmm. And then it was like, that I had a little extra that I could go out for supper. That my husband and I could go out for supper and have a nice meal. Or the next goal was to be able to take our family out for supper and have a nice meal. And then the next goal was that, I could fly back east and see my family, when I wanted to. Not when the money said, okay, you got to wait 6 months till you gather your money up to go back home, when I wanted to. And then my next goal, you just make your goals like that, and then you just keep going. And it's great because I'm a firm believer in vision boards. And I think everybody, whether you're in this business or not, if you're breathing, you need a vision board. You need to have goals and you need to have dreams. You put the little ones up on that vision board first, and then as you get them, you take them off and put another one on. And like, what a difference when you walk by something every day and see it. Then that's what you're thinking about all the time. So if you have that vision board up, and like, in back home in Canada, in Alberta, I had pictures all over everywhere, all these stickers everywhere, all over the place. And people would say, what is that? And I'd say, I'm going to do that someday. I'm going to be there someday,
You have cut out of the pictures of the things that you want? Is that what?
Yes. And, here I just have the one big vision board, but I have it right downstairs in the middle of my living room downstairs. And so anybody comes in, it's this great big yellow Bristol board, and it has the things on it that I want to do. And some of the things are crossed out because, I've already accomplished that. Now it's moved on to the next one. But you know what? I'll just get another picture and I'll stick over top of that one. So, and that's what you need to do. You need to work as a couple and work on those visions and get them where you see them every day and never give up on it. Never give up on it. Look at my age. Oh my gosh. Like, we're living here now at a dream that we had 38 years ago, right? I had the dream many years ago, and so did Mike. We just got together that many years ago and had the dream together too. But we always had this dream. And, when you accomplish your dream, you sometimes pinch yourself and say, is it really happening? But people never forget where you came from and where, how you got there. Because, it's not something that you got to work for your goals, right?
So I'm curious, like during the past 2 and some years you're in this business, is it through your faith and fear that you punch through some difficult challenges, or is there other tips that you had for us? I mean, like us doing the business, just up and down. It's
faith, not fear. And like, for sure. But I had to, you're going to get stepping stones. It's inevitable. Life's not easy. Life's difficult. And there's lots of big stepping stones that are thrown in front of you. Sometimes there's mountains. But, the faith is going to teach you how to step over those stones. And the faith will teach you how to climb that mountain and get to the other side, right? But you can't quit, right? In life, you can't quit in life because something gets a little difficult. That's the same in business. You can't quit. Right. Look at all the people that are so successful in life, like, do you think Edison Graham Bell, who invented the light bulb, quit? No, it took him years. But I said, I gave myself a 5-year plan on this business to be making enough money to be able to sustain our lifestyle that we were living when we lived in Fort McMurray. Well, I succeeded. I went over and above that. And we got to the point that my husband could retire on this too. So, it's your dream. You can't let go of that dream. You got to have the faith that that someday it's going to happen. You don't know when. And like, it's all on God's timing. So whenever he decides that it's time to happen, maybe I wasn't ready for this type of success 20 years ago. Right? Maybe I wasn't ready for this type of success 10 years ago. So
God always has the best plan for us in timing.
Exactly. So we just have to have faith, not fear. We just have to believe, whatever anybody believes, you just have to believe in what you're doing. Believe in yourself. Have faith in yourself. Just like I just try to say, like, can I be just a little bit better than what I was yesterday? I've got a long ways to go, but I'm a much better place than what I was, a few years ago. Right?
Right.
So I still have a long ways to go, but I'm not where I was yesterday. So that's what you got to look at every day.
Right.
Okay? Just one day at a time.
Mm-hmm. Right. So before we wrap up our interview, I will have one last question for you, debra. Is that are you willing to share with us any one daily habit, like one routine will help you reach your success that you are now?
Right? One daily habit.
Treat it like a business. I'm a firm believer. If you work 1 hour a day, you get paid 1 hour a day. If you treat it like a hobby, you're going to get paid like a hobby. Now look at hobbies. Knitting is a hobby. People spend hours and hours and hours knitting a pair of mitts for kids to wear, and then they sell them for $5.
Right.
So if you work like a hobby, or if you treat this like a hobby, you're going to get paid like a hobby. So it's going to cost you a lot more time and effort than you're ever going to get paid, right? Because knitting, you don't knit a pair of mitts in an hour or 2 hours, sometimes 2 hours, or somebody's really fast. Maybe they can, depending on the size. But then they sell them at the markets for, $5 a pair. They're not, they're working for less than $5 an hour.
Right.
I don't want to get paid $5 an hour. I want paid a lot more. So I believe if you treat it like a business, you'll get paid like a business. You treat it like a hobby, you're going to get paid like a hobby.
Right.
And, and that's what I tell my people, like, how are you treating your business? How much time do you put into it? How serious are you about this? How willing are you to learn what you need to learn to make this happen? Are you in your training? We have the best training, I say, in the world.
Yeah.
Universities would grab the training that we have and they could sell it for thousands and thousands of dollars because we have the best training in the world. And it's just a matter of people, how bad do they want this business? Because you can't do it for me and I can't do it for you. The only person I can make successful is me. Right? And I can be guided by the people who help me come into the business, but they can't force me to do what I need to do. So if people want to be successful, then they have to first have the mindset that they're going to do it. And then they can't waver from it. They have to have the faith that they know it's going to have, and they got to be ready to walk over those stepping stones. They have to step over those because we have to crawl before we walk, and we have to walk before we can run. Right?
Exactly.
You don't get off running first step. You got to learn to crawl first.
Manage our expectations.
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, debra. We're so happy. I believe that people who are online with us, tuning with us right now, or watching the replay now, we learned a lot, really a lot from the words of wisdom from debra. And what my takeaway today is that faith, not fear. That will help us through in life, in our business, in everything. And also, don't quit. Right?
That's right. Have faith, not fear.
Right.
Quitting is giving into your fears.
Yeah. Right. So So thank you, debra, for your time.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think people are watching who are still kind of following our page, but still looking inside us. It's a good time to look at our webinar, which will come in this afternoon at 5 p.m. Pacific time. And that's where everybody started, including debra. Watch that 90-minute webinar to start it.
Right. And go back and listen to debra's words of wisdom again and again and again, because it's really a golden nuggets in it. So we also learned a lot today. Thank you, debra.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure meeting you. God bless, and I wish you all the best.
Oh, thank you.
We look forward to meeting you in person.
Yes. Either in Mexico or in Canada.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, debra. You take care and stay safe.
Stay safe.
Thank you. God bless.
Thank you, debra.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.